It's your Locked On Flyers podcast for Friday, January 6th. Your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is still like four in a row, Russ.
I
Four
know.
in a row.
It seemed impossible a while back, but it's
It
possible.
it did, and I think it's good for the team. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the end of World Juniors and so much more, all on today's show.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here with Russ Cohen, who is on Twitter at Sportsology. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Flyers. That's where you'll keep track of all of our episodes and Flyers news. You can also email the show at lockedonflyers@gmail.com. Locked On Flyers is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, wherever you get your podcasts. So subscribe. You'll get all of our episodes here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Plus, we're over on YouTube, so subscribe there as well. Russ, as we predicted, Carter Hart did get the start in net for the Flyers. It was good to see him back
hmm
out on the ice. And like we said, it was a perfect opportunity for him to, get back out there because you didn't have to be at top form right off the bat. And sure enough, he wasn't. He was a little shaky at the beginning of the game, but I think by like late in the second period, he was really back on track. And, the third period, he was fine.
Yeah, he settled in. He didn't have too many shots. It was a good game for him to break back into, and that's the main thing. You want to get him back on track. Now he's back on track. The team's winning a little bit, so there's a little bit more confidence, and now you can see what they can do.
Yeah, the Flyers made a couple other transactions yesterday, and they brought Kiefer Bellows back up. He didn't play in the game, but I think if you're going to have somebody sit on the bench, he's as good as anybody. I think if Ollie Lixel is back up, I want him in the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's fine. I mean, they had to scratch somebody. If I look at the list of suspects, um, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, and they've been rotating the defensemen pretty consistently. So Nick Seeler got back in, and Justin Braun sat. That's fine. I thought Seeler had a couple of messed up plays in the game, but that's Nick Seeler.
Yes.
So I think he does some good things. He does some not so good things, and it is what it is with
He is
him.
at 35 games. In another 5 games, you will be cringing because he will have reached the 40-game mark, which I thought he would reach again this year.
Yes.
Crazy.
uh, Nick Seeler. I think the other thing with the transactions, though, that was really important is that Felix Sandstrom was sent to Lehigh Valley on a conditioning assignment. And this is something that you in particular have been harping on all season
Yes.
long about using the conditioning assignment as a method to get somebody ice time and get ramped back up, especially for a goaltender. And I think in this situation, it makes perfect sense because there's legitimacy to him needing the conditioning assignment, and it avoids waivers because
Right.
Sandstrom would have had to go through waivers, and I don't think the Flyers wanted that. So I think that letting him get some starts for Lehigh Valley is on a conditioning assignment is the perfect scenario.
But down the road, if Torts really likes Urson, they're not going to keep 3 goalies up with the big club. So I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, but that's tomorrow's problem.
Okay, fine.
For now, I think that was the right move
Yes,
to make to get Sandstrom some ice time if Urson is going to get the backup spots for now.
that's fair.
Getting to the rest of the game itself, man, Flyers 6 goals. They've got 4 goals or more in 5 consecutive games. We keep talking about that 3 goal threshold and that they had to get to when they weren't scoring. Well, now they've gone past it and feel
Yeah.
like we have a 4 goal threshold here for them in terms of expectation of scoring. totally understanding that this was not the good version of the Arizona Coyotes we
No.
saw. They were a hot mess for most of the game.
They were, but, the one thing about the Flyers is that, you're always gonna get this effort out of them, and teams, if they're gonna come in and sleepwalk like Arizona did, you are gonna get beat. Like, that is gonna happen. So, it's good. This is a good little run for the Flyers. They have some confidence. Even the power play has a more confidence than it did. So even Kevin Hayes got a
Sure.
goal. So there, you take those positives. I thought it was interesting though today that John Tortorella talked about the non-tanking aspect of the team, and he put it on the coaches to kind of say do better. And this is where I think the Flyers are going to be in dangerous ground, because when this winning streak stops and they sort of level out again, you are in that mushy middle. And what's going to happen is they're going to, let's say, they're going to draft between like 8 and 10. They'll get a decent player. They're not going to get a franchise level player. So the system will get better. Fine. They're not going to have a load of cap space, and then so you are going to have to hope. And this is where Torts is unwavering, but this is where I kind of question things a little. His hope of building this culture is going to really have to carry them far next year, because if you're not tanking and trying to really clean up in this draft, then it's the challenge is going to be greater than what was expected.
Yeah, I think the true test for how that's gonna play out will be trade deadline and what Chuck
Yes.
Fletcher can and can't do, presuming it is Chuck Fletcher handling things at
Right.
trade deadline. But I think that is gonna be the make or break for this team going into next year in
Hmm.
terms of what assets are they gonna have available at this draft, and what picks are they gonna have, and, are they gonna be able to make good deals for guys that they may wanna trade at deadline, but keep the guys that are making good progress, the younger guys who are making good progress. And so, that's a management thing. I
Because the
certainly don't
coach doesn't
blame
care about the future.
Torts.
He cares
No.
about the next couple
Yeah.
years. So they're going to probably cater to that.
Yeah, I think they will, but I do think that goes hand in hand with having a strong set of assets going into the draft and making good deals at the deadline.
Hmm.
Also of about this game, you're right about the power play, 2 out of 3, not too shabby, I gotta
No,
say. And, the first one wasn't great, but the second unit actually looked pretty good out there.
it
So,
did.
I wasn't, displeased overall with that one. And then, they get a goal on the first shot in the second one, about 30 seconds in. It was all within a minute of the
Hmm.
start of the power play for both of them. So that's real good. And like you said, Kevin Hayes got on the board.
Yeah, I think all those things were good. I mean, they were, were finally rewarded for at least a little bit better power play. We'll see if they can, keep carrying that through. Again, there's things that or at least that I'm looking for improvement on this team, and that's one of the big ones. So, they took a step in that direction.
Yeah, and they came so close to a penalty-free game, so we wouldn't have to talk
Yeah,
about the penalty kill at all. But they managed to kill that one off. Although honestly, against this Yotes team that late in the game, it wasn't that difficult of a
no,
task, I would say.
no. The interesting thing was, like, I didn't think Jacob Chikrin had a particularly good game. He's a -2, and this is a guy that's trying to get traded, or presumably the team is trying to trade him. And I don't know, like, this is where you kind of wonder what he can do as a defenseman. Because look, I heard a couple of years ago even the Flyers were interested in him because his dad played for the
Yeah.
team and all of that. And look, in this crazy world of Chuck Fletcher, I can't tell you that they're not interested in him. I don't know either way for sure, but I'm just saying this is one where if all of them were watching, they didn't see a lot.
I mean, it would have been a good opportunity to up his trade value, that's
Yeah.
for sure, and, make him have a better chance of getting shipped out to somewhere he'd like to go. Certainly, that was the case. Goaltending for Arizona was just dreadful.
I've seen Vedmelka have some really great games. I could tell after the third goal, like he was dousing himself with water. He's just played a lot of games. I think he was just spent.
Yeah, but it was, like, really interesting how he would just go down and then the Flyers would shoot high and he
Yeah,
wasn't able to block anything. But, you know, uh, again, the Flyers took advantage of it and they didn't.
sure.
A month ago, 6 weeks ago, they would not have taken advantage of a weak goaltender like that. They wouldn't have gotten the shots or the shots on target, let's say. And now the shots are starting to be more on target.
Yeah, I mean, in 27 games, he's had to fend off, he's faced 923 shots.
Oh my god. Poor guy.
It's a lot of shots, man. That's just a lot.
All right, we've got a lot more to talk about with this game and Flyers news, including the All-Star selection for the team, and we will do that coming up next.
Looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories? Then you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me, where you want to eat healthier, but you don't want to compromise taste, then man, I got the thing for you. You got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% chocolate. And they come in unbelievably delicious flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. And what's even better is that they're healthy, only 130 calories and 4 grams in sugar, with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about offering your Built Bars at built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your Walmart today, walk into the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You could pick up a 4 bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later.
Make sure you check out Locked On NHL Prospects. It's your daily podcast covering the next generation of hockey superstars leading up to the NHL draft. Plus, you can get draft rankings and top prospect comparisons for every team. Locked On NHL Prospects available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Russ, I want to keep talking about this game a little bit
Mhm.
because we didn't really talk about Travis Konecny, who is
Yes.
still on a scoring streak and has I thought had a real solid game.
He did. I mean, he was, a catalyst. He was playing both ends of the ice really well. He will be the Flyers All-Star now. Now I don't think it'll be Carter Hart since he got hurt. I think it'll
Oh
probably
no,
be
he is
connected.
not.
Yeah.
He is
Okay.
not.
I didn't see the results. I'm just guessing. I know you have the
Oh
results.
yeah, no, he is not. It's Kevin Hayes.
It's Kevin Hayes.
Kevin Hayes is the designated Flyers All-Star.
I don't even understand.
Yeah.
I
So
can't. I'm speechless because, and it's not a knock on Kevin Hayes. It's just he hasn't been a factor in weeks and weeks and weeks. I understand the point total, but Konechny's been a factor in every game this year, like especially from an engagement level. Like I don't get it.
well, to me, I would surmise that Kevin Hayes is one of 3 players they could have sent, right? It's him, it's Konechny, it's Carter Hart. Those are your
Right.
3 options, right? Travis Konechny has a young child and might wanna stay home.
But that didn't make them
And
choose him or
so
not choose him. He could have been chosen, and then he could say, "I'm not going to go." But that's not why he
well,
wasn't
that's true.
chosen. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a really interesting choice. I think it'll be fun actually because he's friends with so many of the guys on other teams
Hmm.
that I think it'll be a good experience
Oh,
and
definitely. But
he'll
I'm
be
just saying
fun.
he's not the best flyer. That's all.
No, I think it's Travis Konecny. I think he's the guy that should have gone. But you can still vote for Travis Konecny. They have
Oh,
the
yeah, for the last
Twitter
guy
vote.
standing. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
That's good. I mean, I think people should vote for him because he really is worthy.
Yeah, I think so too. That if you're gonna put a vote out there for another flyer, I would pick Travis Konecny. That's for sure. I also want to talk about Cam York, back up on the top pairing. He did get slightly less ice time due to the power play unit
Yeah.
usage, but I do think that he played all right. I think again, it's like not a standout game, but he played a solid game.
Yeah, I thought he was okay. I think, he fits well enough with Provorov that you could do it. I don't know if he's going to excel offensively at that spot. That's the problem. I think if you had him as a second pairing guy, you might see a lot better offensive production because it's a lot different playing, top pairing than second pairing
Yeah, although
matchup.
it did in this case give Provorov a little bit more chance to step up offensively than he normally would, and he got a goal out of it.
Okay, but to be fair, I don't really care what Provorov gets point wise. Like I don't. York is more important
Okay.
to this team. No, you know what I mean? Like it's just not
No,
important.
I do.
Yeah, York's more important to the offense of this team. Look, York is never going to be the number one. Provorov is a decent number one. He's never going to be a terrific offensive defenseman because he's a better all around defenseman. But York has a chance to be a really good offensive defenseman. So I want to kind of start, feeding him with those points. But the matchups are going to be a lot harder on that top pair. That's my issue.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I just think that as far as Cam York goes in this game and his development and him sticking with the Flyers, I think this was a solid game for him that kind of changed the dynamic of that top pairing a little bit,
It has. There's
overall.
no question. He has 3 points in 5 games up there. Um, but on the season, he's only got 6 shots. And you do want Cam York to be able to score some goals. He's not really getting in position for that enough.
So, looking forward to seeing what he can do against some of the tougher teams that the Flyers have on deck over the next little bit. Also, good to see Wade Allison get on the board in
Yes.
this one. He had a great follow up on his own play, and that's the kind of thing that he does, right? And we've talked
Hmm.
about this before, and why when he was out injured, I missed him so much because he's not a circle and skate away guy. He's a follow up on his own play guy, and I really appreciate that about him, and he got rewarded in this one.
He did. There's a certain greasiness to him, hardworking, blue collar work ethic that that all teams need. You need guys like this. He's got a little bit of size. He's got some hustle. He's not the greatest skater, but when he hustles, he can move down the ice. And yeah, I think he is really a valuable guy to have.
Yeah, any other notes on this game?
I didn't love the game by Owen Tippett. I know he got an assist. I felt like he struggled offensively, a little bit, and he definitely struggled defensively. Um, but it's going to happen. It's just I would have thought in a game like this, he would have had a chance to shine. Farabee looked good. He's slowly getting better. I don't think he's back to where he was, but he is slowly getting better. So there's something to be said about that.
Indeed. Well, the next couple of games is a back-to-back against Toronto and Buffalo, which is going to
Oof.
be tough, tough competition. We're actually going to talk about that a little bit more on a special Sunday episode of the show because of our schedules and whatnot. We're
Yep.
going to put out an episode on Sunday, and then we'll be back on Tuesday. So check your feeds as those episodes are available. The World Juniors ended in dramatic fashion in both medal
It
games,
really did.
uh, and huge moments. I think overall, one of the best World Juniors I can remember in years. A lot of fun to watch. We will talk all about that coming up next. Russ, I don't even know what to say. I'm exhausted just
Yeah.
by the medal games
It
of
was chaotic.
it was absolute madness, and, we had 2 overtime games. Team USA wins over Sweden 8-7 for the bronze medal.
I mean, Mberico ends up being the guy that gets him the medal. It's funny. It's like they went with Augustine all
Yeah.
this way, and then he was pretty mediocre. I mean, he gave up 5 goals kind of quick. But it didn't matter. Lindbaum gave up tons of goals too. Like
Yeah, this
so
was a no defense game. This
yeah.
this was just like everything was chaos. Everything was on the fly, and I think they just were like, "This is our last game of the tournament. Defensive structure be damned. We're gonna just try and score some goals."
Well, definitely defensive structure be damned. The couple of things, even though Carter Gauthier did have some goals, I didn't like what I was seeing on defense, and I didn't feel like he was playing physical at all. And these are some things if he is going to want to come out at the end of the year and try and play in the NHL, especially for John Tortorella, he's going to need to work on these things. I mean, it was funny too because I felt like he shot himself out for a while. Like all of a sudden he was getting a little tired because they were setting him up so much for the shot, but then he rebounded a little bit on that.
Yeah, they were setting him up a lot to try and get one, and he finally did, and it was a gorgeous
Yeah.
shot,
Yeah.
and that is, what he does best when
Yes.
he's on, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
he just has to be on more in situations like this, and hopefully, going back to college and rotating back to center, he'll be more comfortable, honestly, and he can get back to the highest level of his game that he's had there. I think that, for this team, it makes sense to put him on wing, but I think ultimately, given the kind of tournament he had where it was fine, but not good or great, I would say,
Yeah.
that I think settling back into the college game will be helpful for him.
It will. It will. There's no doubt. I was happy for Chaz Lucius. I mean, he
Oh,
had been getting
what a
better and
goal.
better. Yeah, he's listen, he's a really good player, man. He's got some moves. He's exciting in open ice. I like the fact that they caught on Mike before they named the best US player and the guys were like, "Well, it's Chaz. It's Chaz is the best player." And and that's nice that they acknowledge that. I think Luke Hughes was kind of interesting because I liked when he scored the goal and said, "We're not going to lose." It it didn't hold for long, so
No, it did not. There
um
was a lot of blown leads in that game.
yeah, and again, I didn't like what I was seeing out of him on the defensive end. That said, hey, getting a silver was good. Um I did get that part right. I had the US getting a silver, I had Canada winning, but I had Finland. I know I had the US getting the bronze, sorry, like they did,
Yeah.
Canada winning. I had Finland getting the silver. So I got 2 out of 3, which isn't bad. In the other game, I don't know if you noticed this guy David Jiricek, but
Who?
as as the tournament went on, he was starting to look like a world beater. And this is what we were talking about. It wasn't just like he's just a defenseman. He's a defenseman that could also take over a game offensively with his size and speed and get in on the rush. And he almost put that game away.
Yeah. Man, it was so heartbreaking for Czechia to lose
Yeah.
in overtime, especially, they were down 2 to nothing. They come back in the third period to tie it up on a couple of really nice goals, and that did not get called for goaltender
No, and
interference.
I thought Coolidge had a
And
chance to win it in overtime too.
yeah, he
He really
did.
turned on the Jets. He had a great game. Sabres fans should be thrilled about that. But at least this is, hey, look, this is the first medal since '01, right? So this
Yep.
is a big deal for them. A silver is a big deal for them. They certainly, again, it's a head scratcher why the Canadians did not let Yaroslav Slavkovsky go. I mean, basically, he's playing fourth line for them. You couldn't let this kid go and try and win a gold medal for his country and see if that sparks his game too. That was really a bad move by the Canadians. I still am not happy about that.
Yeah, I think it really could have done Slovakia a lot of good to have him out there. And, they had some all tournament voting, and the tournament named David Jiricek, who we just talked about, the top defenseman, Connor Bedard, of course, the top forward, Adam Gajan from Slovakia as
Yeah,
the top goaltender. That was a little bit of a
a
surprise to
surprise,
me.
but he was good. He was good.
Yeah, I thought Sukanek
I
would get
thought he
it.
would too.
But he was voted the top goaltender by the media at the tournament, so kind of a split there. Coolidge was one of the top forwards, Logan Cooley. Connor Bedard is the MVP of the tournament,
Didn't
and
set the record though, right? I don't think he set the record
I
point-wise.
thought I think he did in a single World Junior, but not
Yeah, for the
overall.
Canadians, like, he broke
Yeah,
Lindros's record, but not the
right,
overall Forsberg record.
right.
Yeah.
I think that's how it went down.
And I did
But
wanna point this out to people, and I'll point it out on this show too. Um, this isn't to take away from Connor Bedard because he's still the best guy in the draft, but, just because if you look at, uh, Connor McDavid and say, "Oh, well, he had 15 points in 14 games," and look at all the points Bedard's got. Connor McDavid also had to face Russia, and not facing Russia in 2 consecutive World Juniors is a big deal. They usually are a factor. So, all that said, yes, Bedard was still really great. I did have to take some of the points with a little bit of a grain of salt. And in this game, he wasn't as big of a factor. Really, the last
no,
2 games, he was not as big of a factor as he was the last 2 before that.
no, Czechia did a great job at stopping Bedard.
They did.
They played really well defensively overall, considering how prolific Canada has been scoring wise to hold them, to 2 goals in regulation. I mean, that was huge.
It was. It was. Hey, listen, hats off to Czechia. Even though we don't like to talk about moral victories, and they did get a silver
Huge
medal,
moral victory.
it's a huge moral victory for them. Tying
Yeah,
that
I
game
think
and putting it in overtime probably ignited that country. And,
yeah, Jake Voracek was tweeting about it
yeah,
during the
see, there you
games.
go.
So, good to see him, uh, out there, but he was definitely nervous, but also proud of the
He
team.
should
So,
be. Like, that is a
love to
proud
see that.
moment. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Just as a side note, they always play relegation games at the end, and so unfortunately, Austria will not be in the tournament next go round because Latvia won the relegation series, and I
Yeah,
think that's the
Latvia's
right.
better. Yeah, they're
They
better.
are. So that was the right
Austria had a
outcome
couple
there.
really good players, like, we talked about, and both could be first rounders. But in the end, Latvia had the better all around team, and they were pretty chippy. Like, they weren't
Yeah,
easy to beat.
that's true. And Norway will be joining the fray next year. They're back up. They won the second tier uh, division. So it'll be
So
good to see them
Matt
back.
Zuccarello will be tweeting about that when they're in it.
Yeah, it's always been this weird thing with Norway that like Sweden and Finland are top hockey powers, and Norway, like they're just skiing. That's all they're doing. It's like
Skiing, they
cross
win
country
everything.
skiing.
They win
Yeah,
everything in skiing, but hockey, not so much.
yeah,
I don't have an answer for that. I really don't.
yeah. It's really interesting how that is. But for our fun thing, we've got Cutter Gautier's slap shot goal or one timer, I
One
should
timer.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just a gorgeous goal for him.
In the
So
upper
hopefully that
corner was sweet.
that yeah, hopefully that helps him end the tournament on a good note. Just like we want to end our show on a good note, hence using that goal. So, like I said, we are going to be back on Sunday where we will talk about the Leafs game that will be happening on Sunday. We'll talk a little bit of Sabres, and then we will be back again on Tuesday.
Well, I do wanna
As
say we're gonna be talking about some of the, Flyers' younger players, where they
oh
sort of
yeah,
stand right now. I don't know if you noticed, Rachel, I did get a laugh out of it, that the Flyers skewed a stat in that game. They said, with players 23 and under, since December 11th, they're the number 1 team in the
oh my
NHL.
god, I hate stuff like that.
I
I
laughed. I laughed.
yes, it's like on Tuesdays when the weather is 50 degrees or colder. Okay. Anyway, uh, if you wanna ask us questions and, make us laugh, you can send them in via Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail, or you can comment over on YouTube. I am Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next one, check out Locked On NHL Prospects. It's a daily show covering the next generation of hockey superstars leading up to the NHL draft. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great weekend, everybody.